All right. Good morning and welcome to the show. This is the Weekly Jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez.
Rohi Zachariah.
And today, Rohi, we are talking about the Madera District Fair that's happening from September 4th to September 7th. But before we dive into the District Fair, why don't you tell us a little bit about your weekend adventure that you had over the last couple weeks there?
Yeah, we did our yearly trip to Yosemite. Always exciting. Usually 1,000 degrees outside, but this year was it was an interesting one. We had a light sprinkle Tuesday morning, and thought nothing of it. Checked the weather report, 50% chance of rain, and it was only even supposed to be for an hour. So we decided to hike up the mountain, and mind you, it's about a 2.5 mile hike. And once we get to the top of the mountain, we hear the thunder start up, and we were considering pushing on. So we kind of take probably another 3-4 steps, and all of a sudden the hail started, and we said, okay, we can manage a little bit of hail. It's no big deal. And then the flood came, and that's when we knew it was time to vacate the vicinity there. So it was a good time. We ran down the mountain as fast as we could and got back, and our trip was cut short, unfortunately, because my buddy's tent wasn't completely waterproof, so all of our stuff got waterlogged, and so what should have been a nice 3-day trip turned into a day and a half, unfortunately.
Really?
So yeah.
So when you plan for these trips, do you plan for the unexpected? Was this something that you guys?
That was kind of the funny part. So Monday, we always do a light hike on Monday, and I packed my rain jacket, and because it was supposed to kind of sprinkle, and it didn't really sprinkle much. It had just a little few drops here and there. So Tuesday, feeling dumb for bringing it on Monday, I didn't bring my rain jacket. I just, it was nice and dry in the tent, but generally, like it's tough because planning for that trip, it's just hot. It's never been any wild weather, so we just bring some food and money, and that's about it, and kind of go from there. So it's hard to plan it and they've been going for, probably 20, 30 years they've been going on that trip. I just joined them in the last 15 or so. And so it's for that, have that long period of just calm, hot weather, and all of a sudden have a freak thunderstorm, it was kind of throwing them off.
Yeah. But that is the...
It's nature.
Yeah, it's nature. You can't really,
nature.
you can't argue with nature, right? So
No.
it does happen.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. I know we were out for about 2 weeks, all right? And obviously you had some stuff coming along. I had something going on, but we're back. And today we want to talk about our district fair that we have here here in our community, because it is a district fair. It's for the entire counties that are neighboring, Fresno, Merced, anyone that wants to come. The Madera District Fair is exactly that. That's a big time fun, is what we call it. Small town fair with big time fun, right?
Yeah.
So yesterday was the opening, right? Grand opening yesterday,
Yeah.
and you attended the district fair. Tell us a little bit of what you saw. This hype that we put throughout it. I know they do a good job there at the district fair to try to promote this, but tell us what you...
They do. So typically Thursdays are free entry, which, because obviously it's still kind of middle of the week. I would say, and I talked to a lot of people there, attendance felt much higher. There was a good police presence because, last year seemed like there was a lot of youth that were just wanting to express themselves, let's say. And, so, quite a bit of fights and stuff had broken out, but it felt safe. Everybody was spending money, which was good to see. And it's always a really nice event. I think it would say very well put together, very well organized. We got to attend an award ceremony where they recognized Debbie Bray for all her work and that she does in the community. So that was kind of nice. And but it's very exhausting because this is day 2 of kind of being out there late at night. First 2 days ago setting up, and then we go until about almost 11. So it's
good. Yeah, and a big shout out to Debbie Bray. She is the director of the Madera Chamber of Commerce, which is something that she's always putting together, not events that she's at, ribbon cuttings and what have you. She's always the one organizing the events to present these ribbon cuttings and open ceremonies. And it was good to see that they recognized her, and she was not necessarily there organizing it, but they put it in for her.
Yeah.
So that's great.
They had to sneak it around her because she's in charge of the schedule, and she was jokingly upset because it didn't fit into her time schedule. So
Wow. Well, good for her.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good thing.
it was.
So yesterday, I know that we had the Blue Oyster Cult, and that's an event, a concert that sold out today. If you're interested in getting out there, you do have the Sugar Ray, which is a 1990s band. I remember them going to college. Really,
Oh, yeah.
really good hit songs that they
Yeah.
had. They'll be in performance today. Tomorrow you have Joe Nichols, and then for those of you that like the Spanish, there is a banda that's coming in on Sunday, so that'll be interesting to see. There's a little bit of everything there at the district fair. Again, if you like the carnival type of games and what have you, events, booths, food, everything that you would imagine in a district fair is going to happen this week. So make sure you get out there, enjoy the event. It's always great to get out there, see people that you probably haven't ran into for a long time.
yeah.
You'll see them there at
Oh,
the
yeah.
fair. Yeah. And you know, one of the things about the district fair is that we held our 4th of July event there not too long ago. And the reason why it's so, so attractive is that it's very controlled. I mean, with the parking, people, security, police presence, I think that certainly helps to make people feel comfortable that you're going to go to an event that's going to be properly monitored with police presence and also with security.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that? I know you're
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I would agree. I think, especially when you consider the neighboring town of Fresno and where they host their fair, their district fair, ours is very unique. I mean, in the sense that it's kind of in the middle of town. There's a lot of retail business around, a lot of food, still around. So it's not. I hate to say Fresno where it's in the middle of nowhere. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. You leave your car from the district, or you leave the district fair to go to your car, and you're kind of scared about where am I going. This is a much more safe environment, lit environment. And again, if you just don't want to have a corn dog at the fair, you In and Out, it's right across the street now. So
Yeah, well, you have In and Out, you have the Panda Express,
Yeah,
and you have a variety
We
of
do.
restaurants that are there, right?
Yeah.
And you're right off the freeway. So
Correct.
I know it gets a little hectic with the traffic, especially during Fair Week.
Yeah.
But we anticipate that, so we'll have again police presence, traffic control to make sure that everybody gets in and out in a timely manner. But expect some delays because traffic does. You just have so many people trying to come into one event.
Yeah.
Essentially, some that's not very routine, right? So it'll create some traffic congestion there. But expect that. But you'll get in. You'll have fun. Eat your corn dogs. Go out there, play some games. Stay for the concerts. If you have kids and little ones, they'll enjoy the rides, the games that are available. I think and again, it's a family event, and you get to see a lot of people there from your community that are also doing the same thing. So it's good to catch up and go out there and try the experience of the district fair.
It is.
Now, Rohi, since we work directly with Barbara, right, at the district fair, and we've had a good relationship there. And what we do is we block the whole fair, but we also look at some of the halls. We utilize some of them halls, but here you have exhibits for all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only the FFA and the ag, but you have exhibits everywhere. Your experience in the ag sector of the district fair, do you see a certain time throughout the week where people that want to come in there and look at the
Yeah, I would say
farm
I would
animals
probably
and FFA?
encourage early on.
4-H.
Yeah, obviously at the end they do auction those off and they do find other homes for them. So I would say if you wanting to see a cow and a whatever pigs and stuff, it's better to kind of come maybe yesterday or today. Before they kind of start emptying out, but it's a good experience. I mean, we take the kids every year. We still go by the booth, they can check out the cows and smell the smells, and and then I think it was last year they started having like the rabbits and the chickens and stuff, and it's just nice because again, since our involvement with the fair, coming through the robotics side, Barbara was big on pushing what fairs were supposed to be, especially like when you talk about like world fairs and these kind of ideas of it was making things that were not normally accessible to people. So, people don't always see a cow. You may think like, oh, a cow, no big deal, but how many kids have probably never seen a real cow or gotten to be maybe 2-3 feet from a real cow, So that kind of mentality throughout the entire fair is really what is at the heart of it, is to not just to say, oh, there's carnival rides and there's this. It's what can you bring or what can you see that you don't see on a normal basis. So.
It's funny. When I was a kid, and my parents used to take us to the district fair there in Merced. That's the one thing that I always remember about the district fair is the smell of the animals, right?
Yeah.
But it was enough to get me to go out there and walk through the whole maze there of whether it be sheep, cattle, hogs. But it was interesting because when I got into high school, I took an FFA class, and I wanted to be part of that. I wanted that experience because, again, as a kid, I remember walking into the district fairs, and that would be something that I was attracted to. Aside from the rides and the joy and all that, that was great. But the FFA and the 4-H as well. I mean, 4-H was not something that I was exposed to early on, especially in the town that I was in. I'm sure it was around, but when I got into high school, that's where FFA was very relevant, and I was able to register and then get myself a sheep, and then I it was a lamb at the time, right? And we were we had to exercise them, we had to feed them. It taught you responsibility. It taught you, when you do FFA, it teaches you a lot of different, as officers, it teaches you a lot of the life skills that you'll need, running meetings, obviously some business portion of it, some ag. But I remember not only going to the Chowchilla District Fair, we would go to the Merced District Fair, and we travel with these throughout the year because you would sell one, you'd buy another one, and you'd raise it again in time for like maybe 2 or 3 district fairs. But at the end of the day, I remember the experience there. We would get there a couple days early before the fair started, get your stuff set up, get out of school early, But it was a great experience, and I see that now that I go see these sections at the district fairs, that you appreciate the hard work that these kids have to go through to get their animals in line so that they can show them. And essentially, it'll be a sell, like you said, right? Yeah. Now, did you ever participate in any of that?
I never did. I never got into the animal side, especially as a kid. I mean, it was just, when I think we started in 2017, partnering with the fair with robotics. And that's when we, again, bringing that philosophy of new ideas was when we brought like VR and 3D printing and some of that stuff that, again, at that time was not obtainable or touchable to the average person. So
yeah. Well, the district fair is out this week, so if you're listening, get out there, enjoy, have some fun over the weekend, especially if you don't have any plans. Always make your way out to the fair. Again, very controlled area, highly secured, so you and your family have a lot of fun. Roy, anything else you want to add to the district fair before we cut off and we go on to a different weekly
No, I would
events?
say get there early, just because, I mean, like you said, it does pile in quick, and if you want a good parking spot, you don't have to fight for it. I would say get there as early as you can. So
there you go. So again, the district fair. Now, we'll turn into something else here. I know that September is always a month of like fair, but it's also, and in your case, I mean, it's a month where dove hunting starts and the hunting season starts. So obviously for you get a little busy with ammunition or possibly firearms, where people want to get out there and experience the dove hunt for the first time. I've heard a lot of people tell me this time, and I've seen some posts on Facebook, and they got their shotgun up there because it's that time of the year.
Yeah, I mean it's I know and as again the city of Madera has grown over the years, I used to feel closer to the county line because I remember waking up, it's dove season because it's 6 a.m. You wake up and you go open your door and it's boom, 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 boom. It sounds like a war zone going off, And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It's a dove season. But now because of, obviously we expanded and housing has expanded, people are pushing further and further out into the county, finding spots. But it's, I've never gone personally. I know people always ask, have you gone? I tell them, I have to be here because I got to be the guy when you guys run out of ammo and you got to come back in to get it. So I'm never out there, but it sounds like a lot of fun. I thought, but you've done that before, right?
Yeah,
I mean, what's your experience been?
It's been, you know, over the last 20 years, I think I've done this, you know, since my brothers and I would always get together with my dad, family, and it was a annual deal.
Give us a picture of what is it like at camp, you know? Or...
Well, I mean, you know, for those that do it, you know, we would just get our licenses about a week before, make sure we had enough ammo. During the COVID time, I think we all struggled and we all scrambled to try to get ammo. So during that time, you know, I think that created a time where I didn't find it as fun as I did prior years. Something about COVID just it kind of died down. Soon after it started really, I started losing the that enjoyment of being out there. And this year, believe it or not, Rohi, is the first year that I did not go dove hunting over a period of 20-some years. And like I said, you know, when we gathered with the family, we got there early morning, 5:30 in the morning, right before the sunrise, and we were picking our spots. So wherever we went, back then, my dad had about 47 acres in La Grande, so we would gather there. You know, we'd be prepared for the whole day, right? Because we were not only going to dove hunt, but we would slaughter a hog maybe the day before because we knew we were going to expect some people, family. So it was a good event, right? And my brothers and I, we would get there early on, wait for the sun to come up, and we'd see these doves coming through. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't really a good shot, Rohi, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about how many I was able to bag, but it was more about, you know, just being out there with my brothers, family, camaraderie, my son. Then my son started getting of age, so I would take him out there with me. And that made it even more exciting because I knew he wanted to be part of that. I wanted him to be part of that. So I think by the time he was 5 or 6, I would take him out there. Don't know how parents would look at that. They'd probably see, but he'd have his plugs, and I'd make sure I keep him distant, you know. But, yeah, and he wanted to be he wanted to get out there, so I'd give him a BB gun later on as he got older, and then I got him a 20 gauge, and everything was bought from you, right? So I mean, if you remember, it's been some years now, and finally he stepped up to a 12 gauge. But you know, over the last couple of years, I saw a decline in the interest, and especially coming from him as he gets older. I think he just kind of phased out for him, but. I got to say, it's great. And when I see people that say, oh, yeah, I went dove hunting for the first time, I go, oh, yeah, I remember those days. It's a great experience. You do it. But now I think it's just trying to get everything set up, right? You have to get a license. You got to make sure you get ammo. During that time, it was harder for us to get ammo. Then when it went to steel versus lead, so now you had to buy more expensive ammo. I'm telling you, after those things, it kind of just wore me out. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of things just to go out there and have fun again. You know, it costs money now. And it's not just a money deal. It's just like, I don't know. It's just the mood just started coming down, declining for me. And that's kind of when I said, you know what? My son lost interest. I've lost some interest. So it may revive next year. You know, maybe I need to give it a break. That's probably what it is.
I know, you know, the things we heard this year, which I guess makes me not want to be out there in a sense is, you know, I'd always ask the guys that go out there, for one, over the years, you know, how is it out there? And every year they say, well, it's getting harder and harder. It's harder to find them. You know, the numbers are lowering. And the other thing this year was, like you're saying, like for me, I don't have a hunting license yet. And I've heard a lot of people that are trying to get their license, and there's a limit on instructors right now. And people are going to Sacramento and San Jose because there's just such a pinch on even finding classes to get into. And, you know, it's usually when I hear that, the business side of me says, oh, let me go see what it takes to be an instructor. You know what I mean? Let me help these guys out. I instruct for other things. And I ran into what sadly you run into with a lot of this community is they don't want more instructors. The guys that have the gateway to make you an instructor are basically say, well, just call me. I'll set up a class for you. You know, it's like, no. I want to be one. I want to help out, you know. There's not enough of you guys. No, don't worry about it, you know. So that frustration has always been, unfortunately, in a lot of the gun community where the barrier to entry is not licensing or money. It's the guy that needs to train you doesn't want to train you. He doesn't want competition. So
and that too, because it does fuel that interest for a lot of young folks that think about it. I mean, everything is pretty much at your table, at your fingertips. You're either at Costco or you're at a store. I mean, you almost get desensitized in a way where you're not necessarily you don't think about where a lot of the food comes from anymore, right? I mean, we have these huge poultry farms, we have these huge cattle farms, hog farms, and what have you. But we never really think about how this food gets to our table, right? And when you're out there hunting, I mean, now you do it for the sport, but at the same time, we enjoy them. By the way, doves, if you prepare them a certain way, they're really good. But for the most part, I always think that every time you go out and you hunt, it's because you want to do it so that you still remember like what it takes to hunt for your own food. I mean, we were hunter-gatherers many years back. I mean, exactly, right? And now with modern society, I mean, it seems like everything's brought to you, right? You buy it. You go out there, you put your card, and you're able to buy it prepared, whether you buy it very processed at a burger joint, or you buy it at the store, where you have to kind of cook it yourself, grill it, and what have you. But to go from I got to slaughter the animal, I got to kill the animal, to then cook it, prepare it, and then eat it. I mean, that I think we've lost that in society today, right? And because there's millions of us here in the state, or even in the country, imagine if everybody wanted to go out there and hunt. Yeah. I mean, what kind of chaos you would create with animals, right? You wouldn't have enough. Right, so that's why it's regulated in a way, but it's good to have that experience to know that, hey, if it ever came down to that, let's say a doomsday, right? And how would you be able to feed yourself and or your family? I mean, and I putting this scenario in many people's heads, because think about it, Rohi. Let's just say here in Madera, I mean, you probably know the gun world, right, in the community. I mean, how many people would really know how to fend for themselves to go out there and really hunt versus, hey, the shelves are empty, we have to go out there and start hunting. Who would really know how to get out there and hunt, whether it's fishing, hunting, spearing, bowing, whatever it is that you do to capture that food for that day? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to give all my secrets away, but I think if you were to say in the sense of wildness, like wild animals and stuff, to leave from here to find a secure source of meat, you talk about like deer, bear, you're not going to find it around here, So I think the only thing you're going to find in this area of abundance would maybe be the nearest cow farm, which,
or ground squirrels or something.
I don't know about, I'm not that desperate yet, but I would say that, there's definitely, especially in our area, there's within probably a 5 or 10 minute area, there's thousands of cows in our areas, but how many people would realize that? How many people would go start doing that? But I think if that resource was to go thin, whether they moved them to a different area, already killed them off, whatever, I think it would be a hard time. We would probably have to revert back to, like you were saying, more of a gathering, like growing your own food and no meat or very low meat, or start eating like blue jays and whatever pigeons, and there's tons of pigeons and they're good meat.
You get rid of that problem for sure. Yeah.
The crows that come through town every night.
They wouldn't be coming around.
Yeah. So I mean, but like you said, I mean, it's people aren't thinking that way. I know for us, I feel like it's almost every couple days. My wife tells me about a story about something with our either vegetables or our meat where it's being recalled now. For different reasons, and it always fuels the idea of like, yeah, you know what, where are we getting our stuff? Let's just grow our own. Let's just do our own things.
Yeah, and I think for people, I mean, just to think about the concept of having to do all that, I've seen some homesteaders that have said, it's not that easy as it sounds. The idea that romanticizing that idea that I can be a homesteader, that job. I'm going to be free from the grid and just get away off grid, right, and get out there and grow my own things. But even them would tell you that it's not easy. And the amount of work that it takes just to grow your own food, I mean, it's a trial and error. You will fail, but you will succeed after you try it so many different times, because you can't expect that your tomatoes or whatever you're going to grow for that season without having that experience are going to grow exactly what you picture up here. And, you know, I look at a lot of the immigrants that come out here, you know, like my family, that, you know, their livelihood where they were from in Mexico was mainly, you know, surviving from the land, right? Their deal was, hey, I do have cattle, but I don't slaughter them because I need their milk. I have chickens. I don't kill them because I need their eggs.
Yeah.
But occasionally, you know, they grow offspring and what have you, and I'm sure they're going to have their meat, but it's not every day.
Yeah.
Here, we're having it 2-3 times a day. We have our bacon in the morning. We have our chicken salad in the afternoon, and I'm sure we'll have some meatloaf in the evening, right? So you think about the diet that we're consuming.
Yeah.
And then you start wondering why sometimes we're making ourselves we're making more trips to the doctor, right, as we get older, whether it's prostate, whether it's some type of cancer, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether, you know, it's a list, diabetes, I mean, obesity. You see all these things out there, Rohit, and when you look at and you correlate, well, could it be that society today, with its diet, potentially you can draw a conclusion to say that maybe it's the way you're living, maybe it's the way of your lifestyle. That includes your diet, that includes your environment, that includes your stressful situations. You know, you don't exercise enough and what have you. So all these things probably contribute to where you're heading to, right? I mean, we can make that correlation. I'm sure doctors have done that already. They tell you got to work out, you got to have exercise, eat healthy, less salts, less cholesterol. I mean, they'll give you a whole list of stuff. But I think at the end, we take that for granted because, well, there's always a pill, right? There's always something out there that can save us. And too many of the times, that's not the case.
Yeah, and that was kind of, it was a short conversation we were having as we were getting our corn dog and our cinnamon roll last night, is, you know, the observation of, you know, it seemed like it felt like, and I mean, it's hard to say this looking back, but it felt like the obesity side you would see more in adults, you know, and when you look at the kids would still be relatively thin, but it's looking at kids now that are 8, 9, 10, 11, and they're grossly obese, you know, and imagining where they're going to go 10, 15 years from now, where their health is going to be. And it is easy to attribute to the fact that food is easily accessible, and it's not the right food. I mean, you know, the balance or that argument of always, you know, it's $20 for a salad, but it's $3 for a cheeseburger. Which one are you gonna get? You know, well, I'm gonna get $3 cheeseburgers and, you know, eat as much as I can versus a salad. I'm gonna be hungry in 20 minutes. You know, so that has definitely. It's just made it difficult, you know, and farming, you know, if you look back, farming in general they weren't rich, you know, farming back in like the 30s and 40s, they were the poorest people, but it's that societal shift because of that demand of people who I don't want to farm. Okay, well now you need me. I'm the access to your food. And again, once you start making, you know, it less players in the game, that's how you make your money.
So, you know, it's interesting you say that, because when you think about farming, especially in the early 1900s and what have you, this is right before the diesel tractors started coming in, is you were plowing your food not to go out to market. You were plowing these crops, or you were harvesting this food for to sustain your family.
Correct. Yeah.
And it wasn't that one crop, let me sell it to whomever is buying it to the market, right? And that's what you see today. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still see a lot of family farms that operate, you know, for them, right? But I mean, you have to now to stay alive in this industry, you have to get into a crop where you sell it to the market, right? It's a global market, right? Whether it's almonds, pistachios, and a lot of them are institutional investors coming in, also buying up these swaths of land, and then obviously they have investors that they have to respond to, right? So they have to create dividends. But that family farm that you were talking about, I think that's kind of long gone. I mean, there may be some family farms out there that still run kind of like a hobby farm, and they do their own things. They kind of like a preppers, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see that here anymore. I see rows of one crop, whether it's vineyards for the wine industry, almonds for the almond industry, pistachio, tomato crops. You know, again, it's not for me to bring them home anymore, right? And I think the farm or the ag industry has shifted a different way. Yeah. And again, it's just survival. That's kind of what society created.
But you can also attribute that to the farms in those days. I think for the most part, it was a family farm that property was paid for. That they didn't have these big bills, electric bills, because it wasn't really a thing then. So you could stay home and just work the farm all day. Like right now, for me to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to work. I'm just going to go home and, tend to my fields all day. Well, you have a mortgage payment that comes up. And it's going to come up every month. And you have internet, and you have electricity, and you have all this stuff.
And you just finance that tractor.
Yeah, exactly, and okay, well, my crops don't grow for another 6 months if I was going to sell them, and even then, I'm only growing in this little small area, so that's not even going to pay for my first bill, so it just financially, it's not even obtainable anymore. You just can't really do it. But again, it's for us, like we do it in the idea of, I know where my food's coming from. It's basically ripened on the tree, or on the vine, meaning that I'm getting a tomato that tastes like a tomato, no pesticides, so put the value of that, and I'm growing just enough to kind of add to my meal. I'm not growing 100 rows of tomatoes because, I'm going to prep for the next 6 years of tomatoes. We have like 2 tomato plants. If it produces, I go grab one. If it doesn't, I go buy one from the store,
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, Roy. Kind of to your point there. 2 days ago was the last harvest of my late blooming peaches. Okay. And for the most part, I ate them somewhat not as ripe. But the last ones that I got there were like, okay, these were the juiciest, more sugar content. I don't like them too sweet, but that was it. But I went through them. I got to say that I ate at least 30 of them. I mean, it's a smaller tree. Apricots, I enjoyed those. I have oranges. I have lemons. And, I've always had a cactus there in the corner of my home. And only because I saw that with my dad. My dad, and again, at that 47 acres, he had these. And I could never acquire that taste to it. The texture is just slimy. I go, there's no way. But over the years, I guess, like you said, I try to eat healthy. We try to eat healthy, right? So we call those nopales, and they sell them at your standard stores here, where if you have more of a Hispanic or Latino, you'll see them there, Mexican stores. So my wife and I enjoy them over the grill, right? So we'll put them over the grill. But the beauty of it is that I can go in there, I'll cut them down right when they're really, they're still very ripe, and then I place them on there. I have to, obviously clean them out, and then, when I eat it, I tell my kids, hey, we grew this. Obviously the meat and everything else I had to go buy, right? Yeah. But for the most part, it's a small percentage of things that I know that I grow, that I can do. And there is a satisfying feeling of doing that. But it's just that, like you said, I can't sustain myself and leave work to go out and try to grow this. I wish I could. And I think a lot of us think that way. The scary part, Rohi, and maybe this is a conversation that we'll continue, is how technology is evolving to where we have millions of people in population. We're automizing everything. So what happens to the population? Does the population become then I hate to say the word, do they become almost a burden on society to some extent because of the nature of, well, if you're not working, and we're feeding you these cheap ingredients, and we're keeping you alive so that you can go through this process. Someone's paying for that. Yeah. And if you're not working, who is paying for that, right? And you start thinking, is it our government? Is it our system that keeps us in this place dependent? And if so, I mean, to what extent? You talk about population, and at some point, you reach where the efficiency of machinery outweighs the efficiency of the human.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just too many that you no longer need. And it's sad to think that way, but that's how the corporate mentality, or in this mentality of resources. I hate to use the word capitalism. I'm not anti-capitalist. I'm just saying, if you're thinking in that fashion, is it happening today? Are we starting to see this in our political arena where you start talking about these things, right? Hey, well, we got to reduce immigration because, again, overpopulation. We got to do this. We got to do that. And it's kind of crazy. I hate to get to that point, but I think it's something that you need to talk about because 50 years from now, where are we as a human race, right? Where are we at, right? And that's interesting.
Yeah, I think if you look at most futuristic movies or books, it does point to the direction we're headed, which is, like you said, like the guaranteed income and, just like what to do with people in society, because again, for the most part, we're kind of unnecessary,
Well, yeah.
I know for me, like it won't happen necessarily here in California because of the restrictions, but like my sister living in Texas, she says, for their gun store, they go online, they fill out the application online, they show up, it's already done, they just pick up the gun and they leave. Like the person there is just there because you legally have to have, a dealer who's handling everything. But she said there's no human interaction. You just do everything, you push your buttons and you walk out, And so to think even in my industry, it's feasible that it's all automated. Like it's almost like the Amazon locker of you prove who you are, you've done your paperwork, the state says you can have it, and you just walk out with it. Like that's a feasible thing for even my industry. But I think even so much with, where you saw this first and people probably didn't realize it is Vegas, in the gambling venues is, probably up until I remember going like 15, 20 years ago, if you went to like a gaming venue, it was a lot of table games, a lot of people as far as that were part of that, we're talking about like even the carousels for like the slot machines, you had, attendants that would have to give you change, because they were, they ran on like the little, tokens and stuff. And to think of like, they've eliminated all that, you have your digital ticket. They've wiped out whole sections of table games to put more slot machines because again, slot machines, like they'll tell you, they don't call off, they don't have overtime, they just keep working and they just keep taking money, And that mentality is what's seeping into the rest of society, is that why do you have somebody at McDonald's taking your money, the kiosk, and they're just trying to train society that in reality, like there could be 3 robots in the back pumping out your hamburger, the kiosk is taking your money, and the only thing that's left is, until they make it, is the person that's taking out the garbage. That's it. Or to refill the machine, maybe,
And what's interesting is that now when you look at these like wars, right? We're looking at a lot of sanctionings, and we're looking at a lot of economic wars. We're looking at drones. We're looking at weaponry that you couldn't imagine to be in today's time, but it's there. And I feel like, back then when the Industrial Revolution was beginning, right? You needed all these people. You needed all these bodies to fight these wars, right? And nowadays we may have a lot of bodies out there in these bases and what have you, but truly, you have more of the weapons within your financialization of the global world, sanctions. There's a lot of things that are going on that we see unveiling themselves. And then you see, like, Doge may have been the warning that, hey, this is something to look out for, because essentially a lot of these things could be automated. And all these folks, again, when you talk about Social Security, you talk about Medicare, you talk about all these entitlements or all these things that the government has to produce every year to be able to fund, you start thinking, I go, wow, if I'm looking down the future, a lot of people are going to be dependent. So you either get a grip of it now, or you're going to unleash some energy later in the future. And I think, strategically, I think people can pull levers here and there, and they figure out this. But I do feel that these are conversations that will be taking place at some point in the future. And again, and I just see the way the food production, the quality of food. Again, you're just trying to make sure that you produce food at the lowest cost to feed this population, to then put them through an assembly line where they go see a doctor that tells you, hey, you're eating too much of this, let's go ahead and put you through this medication. And somehow all that stuff there, though, is subsidized by our government. So it's almost interesting to see. But I mean, yes, the business part of it is the people that are privatize those companies. But at the end of the day, you and I may be going down this conveyor belt where, hey, and then, I mean, they're taking you left and right. Again, tinfoil hat, we can put it on.
Sure.
I mean, we see it kind of unveil itself over time. We talk about it a lot, but today we talked about the fair. So if you're still interested and you're still watching our show, make sure you get out there. Go to the district fair. They're going to have some good venues. Again, Sugar Ray's out there today. Rohi, we'll bring this back hopefully next week, and we'll talk about it a little bit more.
I like it.
And hopefully we can start bringing in some data with that too, so we can explain that. But for those of you watching us, thanks again. Like, subscribe, continue to share, leave your comments. Be more than happy to have you throw some comments so that we can answer some of those topics that you have interest in. Anything you want to leave them with, Rohi?
We're good. Come join us.
Yeah, and if you go camping, make sure you're always prepared. All right.